Millionaires live here with Bayut. Find real and authentic properties using TrueCheck. Download the app or visit Bayut.com.
Louis Harding's here, CEO of Betterhomes. Good morning.
Good morning, guys.
And we're talking about comparing Dubai property with London property. We know that Dubai luxury property in particular has soared in recent years. London, though, prices are falling. Where do we stand?
So I find the stats quite wild, really. I think if you look at London as a whole, prices have pretty much plateaued since 2013. I spent over 20 years working in London real estate, so it's crazy for me personally to think of properties that we were selling 10, 12 years ago effectively haven't moved in price. And we all know what happened or has happened in Dubai over the last period of time. Prices have gone by about 140, 150% in the last 5 years alone. Yet Dubai is still about 2.5 times cheaper than London on average. So I get from a market perspective why people might have concerns about how aggressive price rises have been. And obviously people are talking about bubbles and what the future might look like. But I think when you peg it to London, it still represents unbelievable value.
I'm looking at recent research from Knight Frank, which compares property markets around the world. And they've looked at how much square meters or how many square meters you get for $1 million. And back in 2014, to use your comparison a decade ago, the difference between London and Dubai was just massive. In London, for your $1 million a decade ago, you'd get 23 square meters. In Dubai, you'd get nearly 200.
Yeah.
It's almost a factor of 10 difference. But that has narrowed massively over that time. London's barely moved. Dubai, you now get 78 square meters for your $1 million. Still cheaper than London, but much smaller gap.
Yeah, it is. The gap has definitely significantly decreased. But I think there are also other factors at play, though. And I think Dubai as a feasible destination now is a lot more attractive 12 years on than it was. We all know, living here, how much more mature the city is, the knock-on effect of that from a quality of life perspective. But I think it's all the other factors that are going into people wanting to come and live here. I always sort of break it down from sort of push and pull factors. And we know that Dubai are very good at creating amazing pull factors as to why people would want to come and live here. But I think it's also benefiting at the moment from lots of push factors where people from wherever they may be, and we're talking about London this morning, are just a bit fed up with what's happening in their own country.
And in fact, one story Brandy picked up on over the weekend, front page of the Financial Times. What was that, Brandy Scott?
The butler did it.
Did you see the...
Or didn't do it, as the case may be.
I don't know if you saw the FT this weekend, but FT Weekend, front page story was about the plummeting demand for butlers in the UK, and London in particular, as... Well, what's the story, Brandy?
Non-dom exodus hits the London market for butlers. The demand for high-end domestic staff is falling.
Well, I think, and I don't want to be too negative, and I don't want to come across as sort of a smug expat that no longer lives there. I'm a proud Englishman. I love London, right? And I've got lots of memories there. I lived there for a very, very long time. And the non-dom is going to get the headlines, of course it is. But I think the UK as a whole is just anti-ambition, if I'm being honest. And that has a knock-on effect, and it trickles down to people at all sorts of different levels. I think the landlord market is a really good example. The UK now is anti-landlord, and the landlord is positioned as some rich tycoon who owns lots of properties and poor tenants having to pay these greedy cats to live in their properties. But the reality is that I know lots of really normal people that are landlords. There are lots of accidental landlords. I'm an accidental landlord because I bought a property at the top of the market in 2007. 3 months later, it was worth less than what I paid for it. 3 months after that, it was a negative equity. I owed more than what it was worth. But I decided to keep it, and I just to rent it out over a long period of time. But there's been so many significant changes over the last sort of 6, 7, 8 years, whether it's the fact you're now taxed on the income rather than the profit, you can't offset interest rates, there's an additional 3% stamp duty if you want to buy something to rent out. The exit costs are obviously really significant. So I think the UK as a whole is just coming across as a bit anti-ambition. And the headlines are it's driving out lots of millionaires and we're benefiting from that. But I think normal Joe are also feeling it, if I'm being honest.
Let's talk more broadly about the Dubai real estate market. Interesting headline in the National over the weekend says the following: Dubai rents to ease after the handover of 72,000 homes this year. And they quote research from Bayut and Dubizzle. And I know our friend Fiba Ahmed from Bayut and Dubizzle is in the green room with you this morning. But they say, all these new homes, Haider Ali Khan is the chief executive, and he says Dubai's rental market is starting to stabilise after a period of rapid growth. And they say in some areas, not many, but Bur Dubai and Dira, rents are down 6% so far this year. What does your data tell you?
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing something similar, and the thing about real estate markets is that the whole market never behaves in exactly the same way. So there will be some areas where prices are still rising, and there'll be some areas where naturally prices are falling, and that's driven by what's happening with demand, but also what's happening with supply. And supply is obviously a hot topic at the moment, both from a rental and a sales perspective. And the threats typically to maybe prices falling off is an over-leveraged marketplace, which we don't have, an affordability issue, which we still don't have despite what's happened with prices, but it is still that supply issue. And I think the caveat to that is that typically what we predict to be supplied is very rarely accurate.
We get less than is
correct.
predicted.
Yeah, correct. And clearly the overarching number is what is going to continue to happen with demand. We know what's happening with population numbers. But having said that, I think a softening of rental prices, I don't think is a bad thing. I think if Dubai wants to continue to attract the world, frankly, I think a bit of moderation around rental prices is going to be a positive thing, because the vast majority of those people that come here for the first time will land in the rental market. The DLD is quite clear that people typically rent for 4.4 years before they then go on to buy. And it has been for the last 4 or 5 years the major inflationary pressure. So I think if there is an increase in supply and it means that we see a moderation in rental prices, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that will just encourage more people to come here.
What are we seeing further north? I'm thinking of Sharjah, Ajman, maybe even as far north as Ras Al Khaimah. They're distinct markets in their own right, but in some ways they are linked to certainly the Dubai, Sharjah, Ajman conurbation. It's just a continuous block of real estate, isn't it?
Yeah. So we have a Sharjah office, and it's having an incredible year. And I think part of that is because Dubai, for some, has become unaffordable. So people are just forced to go further out. I think part of Dubai's evolution will have to be getting their head around the fact that they might have to take on a longer commute. Lots of research that we've done is that, and I find it quite funny because my commute back in London was about an hour and a half each way. People get really bent out of shape if they have to travel more than 20 or 30 minutes to get to work. But we could also, though, see a reverse of that. If we do see that Dubai prices soften a little bit in the rental market because of oversupply, we might see a reverse of those people that were forced to go further out, might be inclined to come back in.
20 seconds. Structurally, if we have more work from home, it means living further out is more viable, whether that's in the north in Sharjah or whether it's out towards Dubai South and areas that are further away from Burj Khalifa. 20 seconds, are we seeing that yet?
No, nothing major, if I'm being honest. There's no anecdotal stories that we're seeing or research to suggest that that's having a major impact. Because also I think when people position themselves, and of course it depends what stage of life they're in, they still want to be close to what makes living in Dubai such a great thing.
Louis, great talk to you. Appreciate your time this morning.
Pleasure. Okay.
Louis Harding is the CEO of Betterhomes, and you're listening to The Business Breakfast.
Dubai Eye 103.8.